here we are. We're back. And I just came across this with regards to John Deaton, and it's quite interesting. This is a man who came out of the blue to, air quote, represent the XRP community, the XRP army, in what would have been looked at as the potential for a class action lawsuit. And I remember when this happened. I've been involved with attorneys, been involved with the FBI, been involved with federal criminal cases. And the first thing that struck my mind was, where did he come from? Who brought him in? And how come he didn't ask for a penny of money? I've not seen an attorney step forward under the proposal of wanting to represent a group of people in a class action lawsuit, or the potential for class action lawsuit, and not ask for a retainer, not ask for money. But yet, some 75,000 people signed up to make him their representative, which always was very, very odd to me. Why did the community need a spokesman? How come we couldn't just have the information right from the attorneys? I mean, we had Jeremy Hogan, and I've talked a little bit about Jeremy. He was the first person I contacted the day before I revealed God's revelation on May 13th of 2021 with regards to the price discovery for XRP for the buyback. This is someone who came out and said, after Val Hill Capital started the third valuation committee, which I was one of the 6 members to contribute my model using my base 10 math for the quantum liquidity calculation. And lo and behold, the valuation committee all of a sudden became something to calculate a value for XRP for determining penalties. And I raised the issue. Well, where did this come from? Because I had already worked on all of that information and came to the conclusion that nobody had been financially damaged. Now, people had situations where they over-leveraged their financial position by buying more XRP with money they could not afford to use because that money had other more important things that it had to pay for. Mortgages, college educations, things of that nature. Things didn't happen soon enough. They had to liquidate those positions, and they must have had a basis that was much, much higher than what they sold for. Now, anybody that has invested in the stock market, options, futures, understands that it's up to you as an individual to manage your capital, to manage your leverage. Now, when I was trading the futures market, I had a couple situations where I over-leveraged my position. The market went against me, and I had to liquidate a portion of my position, which resulted in a loss. Do I go in and blame somebody for that? That'd be ridiculous. And it was my contention that that's exactly what was happening here. The SEC was not brought in, and people are going to come to find out, and this came right from the Lord, that it was a protective measure to protect XRP as a token. And that was necessary for its purpose going into the quantum internet in the quantum realm. So this makes no sense. And I've raised this issue in the valuation committee. I did the calculations. This is what I've mentioned before in other videos. Before the lawsuit was dropped on 22nd of December, 2020, the average price for XRP token was roughly about 19 cents, going all the way back to when it first began to trade. And I have meticulous records, spreadsheets on all of this. After the lawsuit, the average price is about 65 cents. So if you bought before the lawsuit and you were hodling and it's now at, let's just say 60 cents, there's no loss. There's no financial loss caused by the SEC. But here's John Deaton, and I'm not coming against John Deaton as a person. I'm bringing up this issue because how many hats is this guy going to wear? He comes in representing himself to be the saving grace for the XRP community. Then he just leaves to be a senator. And now I'm looking at an article that says it's 1 day old where he says John Deaton promises XRP investors to hold SEC accountable for $15 billion in losses. And then he goes on to say, and this must be coming, from the reporter, pro XRP lawyer John Deaton has promised to hold the SEC accountable for $15 billion losses suffered by XRP investors due to the Ripple lawsuit. Show me the calculation. I'm a forensic accountant. I've got over 38 years tax and accounting experience, having worked for the Big 8, having worked in both public and private accounting. Show me the numbers. This $15 billion number that's being thrown out there, I recall hearing that come from Brad Garlinghouse. I never saw anything to back it up. Now, that would be comparable, I'm going to give you an example, of the market dropping. It goes to a low. I measure the distance between where it was and where the low was, and I count that as a loss, even though it's come back up and it's gone higher. That makes no sense. This is funny math. It's Wall Street math. And of course, in the article, look at him. He looks like he's ready to eat a bear, going to go wrestle a bear. Now, this is somebody who said he had no XRP, didn't own any XRP. He didn't understand it. It didn't make sense. And this was well into 2022. And then all of a sudden, at these XRP gatherings, he's asked, John, do you own any XRP? No. No, I don't own any digital assets. The next gathering comes around, and all of a sudden he's admitting, oh yeah, I had Ethereum, I had Bitcoin, and I had XRP. It's like, wait a minute, you don't have a license not to tell the truth. Now, I don't know if this came from his military background, which I understand he has a military background, and he's a lawyer. Now, are lawyers allowed to lie? I guess so. I guess they're not held accountable for what they say, because in the valuation committee, Jimmy Valley said, oh, we're doing this for John Deaton. And I went, really? And then when that word came out, John Deaton came out, he posted a tweet on Twitter, and he said, I want everyone in the community to know that I will not accept any money with regards to any claim of losses based upon the lawsuit for XRP. So do you see kind of where I'm at right here? On one side, he's saying, no, I don't own it. I've never owned it. I don't understand it. But yet he's representing 75,000 people in the XRP community, just kind of telling people what's going on, his own interpretation. Then he's coming out at these gatherings and he's admitting that he owns it and other tokens like Ethereum. What was his involvement with Ethereum? I think I read something where he said that he had a quote non-disclosure because he was representing somebody being sued with regards to Ethereum. I mean, the relationship here is very, very tenuous at best. And of course, we know in the very beginning there was nefarious people involved with Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM. The White Hat Global Military Alliance with Space Force came in and took control. They control every single financial market right now. So I said the markets are trading on an algorithm that they're running from AI. It's not real. It's a simulation. All of the traders, all of the brokers, all the dealers were fired from being able to use the one real-time quote system that supplies Bloomberg and everybody else. How do you do your job as a broker or a dealer when you can't use quotes? You can't get quotes. The system isn't using quotes. See my point? That's why it's running on an algorithm. I've seen the market run on an algorithm. Right before the big financial crash in 2008, the markets were shaking hands. That's a term I learned, shaking hands. The market makers simulate trading between each other, and at the end of the day, they shake hands and they scratch all the trades. So it looks like something's going on, but nothing's going on. See, do you see what I'm saying? And I came across this by accident. I wasn't looking for it. And I had a conversation with my great friend, BG, and he was asking me, like, what do you think's going on, Dave? And we talked about Mr. Deaton, who's now running for Senate under Nassara and Jassara. If you read the paperwork, and it's the it's the 107th Congress. It's the second time they got together. That's the one that was signed by Bill Clinton, not the 108th. That was too late. That was way after 9/11 to begin with. So we got to be very, 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 very careful. And the Lord is reading me in on all of this stuff. And some of it he lets me reveal, just like I'm doing now, for public distribution. But prior to this, it was kept in a very, very tight circle. And I have no qualms about making it public. Why? Because our new quantum financial economy, God put that together. God planned that. He made it possible. He made the XRPL. He created everything, past, present, and future. And he did it all in an instant. So he's not creating now. Everything that we would ever possibly need was all created before the beginning of time. And I don't want to divert too much on that, but it's important we understand that he's just not going day by day trying to figure out what he wants to do. And they all understand the plan. They know what's to take place and what their role is. And right now, he appears to be an operative. He's running a psyop. I'm going to go be the attorney for the XRP army. So I'm going to keep them calm. They've got somebody they can look to. And then out of the blue, hey guys, I got to go be a senator. Someone's got to take down Elizabeth Warren. Well, like I said, if you read the Nassara agreement, all the old government is going out. And anybody that's being voted in right now, they're not going in because that's the old system. And that system has already been taken over and is being completely removed. Trump has already said everybody that's in the government will be taken out. So what's happening right now is this is just an exercise in futility, giving the impression that the old guard and the old way of doing things is still running when it's not. We got all 209 nations having signed on to the BRICS Accord, having signed on to the Nassara-Jassara agreement back before 2020. But now it's time because we're stepping into it. So they come out and say, oh, we got 159 countries in. And then a day or two later, oh, we got 57 more. Well, it's 206. Done. But see, people don't do the math. They don't understand. They don't keep track of the facts. And in this instance, he's not one to give the facts. He's just playing his part. So he's no different than Biden in the mask. He's part of central casting. Okay. But I'm so surprised to see this article. Now he's going to hold him accountable. That's just to to keep everybody diverted from what's really taking place. It's all said and done. He's just going to fade away into the sunset. He'll take his XRP buyback and be gone, never to be heard from again. And all attorneys, there's a difference between an attorney and a lawyer. An attorney is actually practicing. A lawyer doesn't practice. Oh, wait a minute. It says he's a lawyer. I just saw that. He's not practicing. I just learned that the other day, the difference between an attorney and a lawyer. And of course, we know that the entire legal system operates outside of our Constitution. It's all run through the Crown, the Bar Association, and they all have to step down, all attorneys and all judges, to be retrained before they can practice again because of the change. Sovereign law, quantum language. I'm just bringing this up because you need to know who you're listening to. In my opinion, and from what the Lord has read me in on, he's just an actor, central casting. So I wouldn't put too much weight in anything that he says, any promise he makes, because he's already proven to not tell the truth. So why would I believe him now? There's no reason to believe him. Again, there's some reason why they feel it's important to make it look like they're doing something when they're not doing anything. And even if they were doing something, it doesn't affect the outcome. Making it very well known from day one, April 2021, XRP wasn't going to move at the talk about relisting after it was delisted. And I remember the Brad Kimes and the other people starting their chant, relist XRP, because in their mind, by being relisted, it somehow made the price go up. And it never happened until more recently. So I'm talking about 2021, 2022, part of 2023. And if my memory serves me, the relisting didn't happen until after July 13th of 2023, when Garlinghouse and Larson were removed from the lawsuit, having not done anything wrong. Because all of that happened before. See, Larson wasn't the president anymore. CEO, that was Brad. All of the XRP that was handed out and given away or drastically reduced and put out to the institutions and so many others has been clawed back because the actions were nefarious. It was giving them their 50% of the equity when there wasn't regulation to monitor all that. And there wasn't regulation on purpose. The SEC doesn't want regulation because then they can't do what they want to do. You have an authority that answers to the Treasury Department. Federal Reserve and the SEC were moved under the Treasury Department, IRS, 2020. They still make them look like they're autonomous, but they're not. Federal Reserve has no power. It can't print money. It's just basically a board. And its intent, should it be used going into the future, if not renamed, repurposed, is simply to handle the compliance for the national sales tax, the 14% under NASAR, which I was told about in 1994 by Dan Rostenkowski, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman, at that special meeting in California. There's just so much story, so much smoke and mirrors, kabuki theater, make-believe going on. And it just, right now, it just seems to be compounding on itself. The Lord doesn't like it. Now, they're going to be held accountable for their actions because even they are deceiving people. John Deaton can't come out in 2022-23 and say, oh, no, I don't own any XRP. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And then turn around in 2023 and say, oh, yeah, I've owned it. I own it. My daughter got me into it. It's just wrong. It's a lie. And the Lord hates that. He hates liars, people that don't tell the truth. You can't say one thing with a few people and then say something else with a whole group of people. So there's been an agenda here. And we know under the old system, with everybody having their hidden trusts, sophisticated trusts, that's how attorneys get paid. Judges get paid. The moment they bring you into court, they pull millions of dollars out of your sophisticated trust for a parking ticket. It's not right. Now that should be part of what we're getting back through the 4 R's that I've identified as the 3 payouts. And of course, they don't want that known. So God's really turning everything upside down with these money changers by having me reveal his revelation with regards to all these things. Everything is being confirmed to be true. And I don't question what he says. His word is the truth. He is the truth. He's a keeper of every single promise. So we never have to worry about that. And you all know that I'm not here for myself. I'm here operating under his authority, not my own. I carry his banner, not my own. This is all for him, for his glory. Why? Because he's our creator. And he waited 7,888 years for that contract with the devil to expire so he could take back control and he could restore to us everything that was stolen. It says in Proverbs 6, verse 30 through 31, don't worry about the thief who breaks into your house because he's hungry. But once he's caught or known, he has to repay sevenfold, not 7 times, sevenfold, even if it means having to sell his home. 1 times 7, 7, 7 times 7, 49, 49 times 7, 343, 343 times 7, all the way to the 7th iteration, $823,543. That's why so much is coming back. But if I circle back around, no one's talking about Uphold freezing distributions, freezing us from moving our XRP out of their folder where they illegally took what was a segregated asset and aggregated it so they could stake everyone's XRP. No one's talking about that, John. Where are you, John? John, go take care of that, okay? You can put some teeth into that one. It took 4 months to move that XRP out of their holding into a folder that we own because we hold the keys with the nano, the passphrases. We're not sitting in a designated account under the name of Uphold, Coinbase, Binance. Why? Because the plan was they were going to steal everything. When the market turns off, because it's never coming back on, if you couldn't prove what you had, what you owned, what you bought, you'd lose it. That was the plan. God exposed it. He revealed it. I posted it. I made it known. Go do something about that, John. Stop worrying about trying to be something you can't be, because you're not going to be a senator. It's all done. We have a completely different election system that's going to take place within 120 days of Nasara. November 5th is out the window. That's the old Luciferian, deep state cabal, Khazarian mafia, corrupt system. We're not using that system anymore. It's going right through the XRPL in the quantum realm. We're going to vote with our Q phones, our Q laptops, because you're only getting through the Redemption Center to get it if you got a pure heart. You're not making it through if you don't. So you won't be voting and you won't be doing anything if you don't make it through the Redemption Center. Am I clear? People have to wake up. God's not pulling punches. He gave everybody plenty of time, and that's what's taking place during the 10 days of disclosure. It's your come to Jesus moment. You're either going to wake up and repent and go run into the Father, or you're not, and you're going to be taken up and raptured away, right to the lake of fire. And that came right from him. And I can't tell you how many other prophets have received that same word, because we've been lied to by the Vatican, by religion, pacify us so they could control us. Well, those days are over. God's claimed everything back that he created. He said, this is my time, this is my age, and this is my land. Our hearts are his land. And if your heart's full of weeds, you better do whatever you need to do to get those weeds burned out. Get that land prepared, because it's his. And that's how we go through. That's how we make it into his economy. We're not taking anything from the past into his new economy. No stock market, no derivatives, no options, no crypto assets, the crypt. No, we're taking in exactly what we need to operate the XRPL. That's XRP, XLM, etc. XRP is the master key. Why do you think it's the first three letters of the ledger? It's an ancient system that was created out of time. It was used over 588 million years ago. I know it's hard to believe, but there are civilizations out there older than us. We're the last. God's chosen. A lot of people aren't going to make it. He's already aware of that. I've had many discussions with him about that. But if people don't want to reconcile themselves for the redemption, get it? Redemption Center. When I started posting on the Redemption Center, it was too powerful. They started putting information out there to tone it down. It was too much. It was too direct. It was too much in people's faces. Well, I'm not here to pacify people. God has a message. He wants it revealed, and I'm revealing it exactly the way he wants it revealed. You can't say you were financially hurt by buying XRP. You were an adult. You made your own decision. If you used money to buy it, anticipating the price was going to go up at a certain time or by a certain time, and it didn't, and you had to liquidate your holdings, and you paid more than what you sold out at, that's on you. Poor money management. No excuses. You're not entitled to a refund because you made a stupid decision. No more than somebody who bought Intel at $50 and it's now at $19. Your argument doesn't hold water. Otherwise, they have a claim. I have a claim because Obama changed the short rules after the crash. He came out and said, hey, it was after the market closed. He said, no more short selling. On Monday, you have to close all of your short positions. Anybody that was short like myself, we got screwed. There wasn't anything we could do. Pre-market opened on Sunday in the futures market. I took a 90% bath on my portfolio because of Obama. Changed the rules. Nobody stepped up to take care of me or anybody else. So no, it all gets treated the same. That's why it's called investing or trading. There's no guarantees. If you're stupid, you're stupid. If you don't know how to manage your money, that's on you. But you learned a lesson. And I'm going to say this. It doesn't matter what you perceive to have lost. If you actually had a financial loss, you bought it at $1 and you had to sell it at 40 cents because that 40-cent value timed out to when you needed the money to pay the rent or some other expense in your household. There's the opportunity, if you trust in the Lord and what he said and what he's had me prove, every single XRP token carries a $1 million value. Now you're going to get to put the value in that you want. God wants everybody to use their free will and what he's put in their heart. You could have had 5 million XRP at 20 cents and you had to sell half of them and maybe you took a small loss, but you got 2.5 million. You're going to enter your price at $1 million. Don't tell me you've got a loss. God's multiplied your loss. So let's just stop with the loss. It's not truth. The argument does not hold water, knowing what the SEC's role was in protecting XRP, period. And I'm going to end it right there, okay? So let's everybody grow up and take responsibility for their actions and stop buying into all this FUD and all this mis and disinformation. DavidXRPLion out.